Do we live in a matrix? Programming as a word comes from the Greek word prographein from pro, before, plus graphine, right. That is, the first initial prescription, the planning that is done to carry out the planner's plan or main intention. Let's go back to the great plan, to the great first thought and the first word, Kun Fe Kun, be, and it came to be. The coil that writes and that planned everything from the planner, programmer, of everything that exists. He who knew and established this design. What is simulation theory and how does it affect reality? Simulation theory is not just a hypothesis, but an indication that suggests that there is no such thing as true reality, but instead we are all part of a computer-simulated world. There are various variations on this theoretical idea, with some people suggesting that we have been living in the simulation since ancient times, or that it has been running continuously ever since. The idea that our reality is a computer-generated simulation goes like this. It is proposed that by 2050 the number of computers in use worldwide will exceed the number of human brains. Then the argument is made that this means we are living in a computer simulation, and if so, it would probably be advanced. The smartphone has more computing power than 20,000 Intel processors. This is enough to run over 1,000 high-resolution virtual reality simulations every second. This theory was first introduced by Lawrence Krauss and Joshua Green in their 2005 book, Simulation Theory, a computer simulation of how human behavior works. The idea is that we live in a digital world, and our technological advances have enabled higher realism. For example, advances made in accurately modeling the human body by scientists have allowed us to model virtual people who are alive. This is said to be difficult if not impossible to do with a computer simulation of reality because computers cannot model emotions or intentions. We can't model emotions or intentions, but we can model the effects of these things on people's behavior. Happiness, increasing happiness positively affects people's behavior. People are likely to do good things for others or get more enjoyment out of life. Happiness is characterized by a feeling of contentment, pleasure, and satisfaction. Grief, an increase in grief causes people to withdraw from social interactions and perform less kind acts for others. Grief can be caused by great loss, betrayal or failure and is usually characterized by feelings of guilt, misery. The argument is then made that this means we are living in a computer simulation. It tries to show that something is impossible by pointing out how logically improbable it would be. This argument does not, by itself, prove the conclusion for which it is used as evidence. An additional logical fallacy may have been made. One thing is certainly true. The world in which we live is a living simulation of the Supreme Being, Almighty God. He is our programmer, that is, the one who wrote the program of living and the way to behave. The last sentence alone does not prove that He is our programmer, but the argument does. We are only a part of His simulation, and there are many simulations that exist in the universe. This, then, is proof that He is our developer. But is it possible to live in a matrix-like world with multiple layers, built from the program of the one who gave it orders and tasks to function? With the emergence of the idea that broke out in 1999 in which people are trapped inside a virtual reality, there has been intense public speculation and debate about the nature of the reality that exists around us. That debate is fueled by science and scientific evidence as well as fiction in scientific research that has sparked the latest surge of interest in a phenomenon called simulated reality. Interestingly, this phenomenon stems from the simulation hypothesis proposed by Nick Bostrom in 2003, which is the basic idea that all current existence known to humans including the Earth, and the rest of the universe could actually be an artificial simulation. Therefore, the computer simulation is the same kind of simulation, and we live in a reality that is simulated by much greater forces that have been set by the supreme power, which relies on the advancement of computer and video game technology. That's what it does. The argument is that people could be living in a computer program and a false reality like the Matrix. Did the Creator who coded all our cells, our body, atoms, electrons, and all layers of this universe leave us to act autonomously? On the contrary, not a single programmer today allows you to do whatever you want in a game, but you have rules to follow. In those games, there may be glitches, but essentially we operate according to the rules and program directions. So living with the feeling of living we are in a false reality or the Matrix, because Allah has already shown us that the material world is false and deceptive, but it is all too real in the sense that every decision and every word is a responsibility to which we will be called. In view of this, everything is recorded. Everything is sent and everything that constitutes a crime will be measured and accordingly rewarded and punished. That is the message from our Creator, who gave us an instruction or a program that we should act on, and we, in view of what we have in our world, will have to act with all our minds in order to achieve good in this world and the next. Deluding that we are only living in a game with no consequences is something that will lead us astray, and we will fall into what the shaitan is deluding us into, which is that there is no responsibility and that we will be able to do whatever we want. May Allah protect us from false hopes and guide us to the right path.